Hi everyone. In this lesson, we are going to sketch out our ideas for a simple bookmark. So, a bookmark has to be a very flat piece. We'll make it a rectangle that will simply fit in between the pages of the book. But we want to put something interesting at the top, maybe a character with a face going on. So let's take a look at maybe what it would look like sticking out of the top of our book. Here's our pages. There we go. There's my book. And if we make him just kind of peeking out the top, maybe put some hands here so he's reaching out of the book. I think that'll be fun. We are going to design this simple bookmark. First, we're going to start by making our character, and then we'll add our shape for the bookmark. So let's move this off to the side, and we're going to make a character entirely out of cylinders. So I'll drag a new cylinder on here, and I'll turn the sides up, because I like it to be smooth. And we'll look at it from the side, so we can see that it's quite thick. So let's change the height of this down to 4. Now we're going to need to make some hands on the side there, and some eyes. So let's zoom in a little bit. And since we've already got our correctly sized cylinder, we're going to copy it and then paste a new one in. And this one we're going to use for our hands. So let's shrink it down to the size we want our hands to be, sticking off the side of our character here. And while we can see the lines like this, if we look at it from the side, we can see it's the same exact height. So we want to take and increase the height a little bit so the hands stick out. Now I'm going to copy and paste this one, and we're going to move it over to the other side. Now I have 2 identical hands. Next I need some eyes, so let's just paste another hand in there, move it up, and shrink it so it is the size that I want the eye to be. I'll go over and click on the solid color swatch here and just change it to white so I know what it's supposed to be. Now I will copy my new eye shape and paste it and then move it over. If I want to keep them lined up perfectly, instead of dragging it with the mouse, I can use my arrow keys to move it over to the side. Next, we'll give his eyes some pupils, so I'll paste another eye in there. And I'll change the color to black so I know what it's supposed to be. And we'll raise up the height of this one just 1 more millimeter and shrink it so we have a nice pupil so we can tell which direction this guy's looking. Oops. Now when it gets really small, it's very hard to click on a spot that is not a handle to move it around. So we want to use our F key, or this button here, to zoom right in, and we can move this around. We'll have to zoom out to see where it is, and we can also use those arrow keys. There we go. So let's copy and paste our pupil and move it over to the other eye. And I can give him some kind of a goofy expression. And lastly, I want him to have an open mouth. So I'm going to make another duplicate of this last shape, paste it, and I think that looks good. But right now his mouth is sticking out of his body, and I want it to be a hole cut in there. So I'm going to go over to the shape toolbar, click on hole. Now the hole becomes transparent, and where it crosses a solid shape, it's shaded in so I can tell where it's going to cut out. That's exactly what I want. The last step of this character is since he's going to be peeking out of the top of the book, he needs to be flat along the bottom so he can rest on the edge of the page. So let's use one more hole, and I'm going to drag in a box and put it at the bottom of where I want my character to end. We're going to click on our black handle here and drag it all the way across so the box covers up all of the bottom of this character. Now the only part we're going to see is the part that's not cut out. So let's click on an empty space and drag a box, selecting all of our objects at once, and then click on the group button. Now all the holes have cut out and all the solid shapes have been added together. Now if we want to see our colors that we chose earlier, we can click on the color swatch and check the multicolor box, and then it will show us the colors. Alright, now all we need is the actual bookmark. So I'm going to drag a solid box out here and put it right on the bottom of my character. Let's zoom out a bit, and let's make this box taller. So we're going to go all the way down to 80. We can also change the size of something by clicking on the number and typing it in. So I can just type in 80 and make it 80. So we have a nice long box, but it's far too thick to fit in between the pages. So I'm going to click on my upper handle here, click on the number, and I'm just going to put 1. So we're going to make a 1 millimeter thick box. I'll line it up with the middle of our character, and we'll select everything and group it again. Now it will move around as one shape. We're going to take our simple bookmark and set him up for printing. So let's select our object, make sure the entire thing is one group. We'll hit export, and when we download, we only want the selected shape. I've got an extra over here, and if you have anything off the screen, you don't want it to be in your STL file. So let's create an STL file. Now we have a file that represents a 3D shape, and we're going to go over to our slicer, Cura. We have our Creality CR10 printer set up, and we have the PLA plastic set, so we don't have to worry about our settings. The temperature is ready for the type of plastic we're going to print with, and we're going to select our STL file here and double check that everything looks good. If we look at it from below, we can see that the bottom faces are highlighted blue, which is great. That means that they are touching the floor and they should stick. Since our object prints standing straight up, there's no overhangs and we don't need to worry about supports. So we can stick with our standard quality setting and not need to change any of our other options. Let's hit slice. It's going to be 27 minutes, and I'll click on preview just to make sure that we don't have any surprises inside of our object. We can slide our layers down, and we can see the inside is going to be filled in with a pattern, and the outside is going to be solid shapes. All right. Looks like we are ready to save to file. Now we'll have G-code to send to our printer.